So presentation, it's very, very important. That's step 2 of the sale process, and that leads us to the most exciting part of the process, and that's step 3, marketing. So we're up to the 3rd stage of the sold process, and that is market. Now, marketing is very important when you're selling your home. I think it goes without saying. There's lots of different mediums to sell your property or advertise your property for sale. I think it's important for a seller to realise though that ads generally don't sell properties. They only attract potential buyers to them, and then you've got to sell them from there. So there's lots of different mediums. I can only really want to talk about 4 of them, and that's internet portals, newspaper, social media marketing, and video marketing. To start with, let's talk about internet portals. This is a first port of call for people selling their property in general terms. Everyone's heard of realestate.com now. There was a time where, the oldies didn't look at it. Well, I guarantee you they're on there now, and if they're not, their grandkids are, their kids are, their brothers and sisters are looking at it. Realestate.com is a big player in this field, and I'm not saying you should ignore them, but keep in mind, it's a business like any other, and you do have to pay for this service. And you can go through that with your agent in better detail later. Thing to think of with realestate.com in particular, this is advertising for the masses. So there's a lot of other properties there. So if you're not presented and priced well, it could be lost in the masses. So you've got to get that side of it sorted out first before your agent hits the button to go into realestate.com. There are lots of portals. Domain's another one, Homehound, On the House. Some are free, some are costly, but it's certainly one that you do need to look at as a seller. The second piece of marketing or advertising I want to talk about is newspaper. Now, I believe newspaper advertising is an old school way of marketing houses in particular. Now, there's still agents out there using it. To me, and in my opinion, I think newspaper marketing has probably seen its day for real estate. The problem with newspaper marketing from a seller's point of view is it's very much about showcasing the agent rather than the house. Just pick up your local paper and have a browse through it and see what you think. Do you really think properties stand out in there, or is it more about the brand of the agent that's trying to sell it? I would think the latter. So what you've got to ask yourself is, if you've got an agent that's pushing that, do you really want to invest your hard-earned dollars in promoting the agent, or do you want to promote your house for sale? If that's the case, and I'm sure it is, newspaper advertising to me is probably off the cards in most cases. The third type of marketing I want to talk about is social media marketing. Now, this is one you just can't ignore at the moment, particularly Facebook. Facebook is a massive player now, and all ages are using it. And the problem with this type of marketing is you've got to have an agent who's worked out how to market properties without looking like that hard-hitting salesperson. Because don't forget, social media is not about selling. It's about, talking to your friends and having a great time. So Facebook is a good tool. It's certainly one that our office uses, and there's lots of different social media portals, but I think Facebook is the best for this. You've certainly got to pay for it if you're serious about it, and you need to find an agent that has a facility to delve into this marketing tool. Great advertisement tool is Facebook. The third one I want to talk about is video marketing. Now, video marketing can be a lot of things. It could be a professionally done video shoot, or it could be just, with an agent doing a video on your property with a handheld camera. I think this day and age, with the way social media is, I think there should be some live video and some videos for the portals. That's the beauty of video. It can be really put anywhere on any internet advertising, so it's quite useful. But I think you need to have some presence with video. To me, I think this day and age, the way people are digesting things, a handheld video is more than sufficient for your property. And this is something your agent can easily update, when and if they need to. So if there's a price change, they can whack a new video on for a property. So it's very, very useful, and it can be used on social media, it can be used on the internet, portals and that sort of thing. Video marketing, very powerful. If you haven't got an agent that's using that, I think it's time to move on, to be honest, because it's so easy to pick up your phone and put something on video. So that's the end of step 3, market your house for sale. And now we're going to go to step 4, which is to sell your property, which is probably the most important part. Once the property has been listed, presented and marketed, the last step in the process is to sell. So the seller and the agent have created this platform to pull in buyers off the street and show some interest in a property. When the buyer is ready, they start the negotiation process. This is where an agent really shows their worth. You see, a good agent is more than just a conduit between buyer and seller. They need to be able to read people and pull the most out of a buyer without losing them in the process. Your agent should be a negotiating master who brings in offers that are within range of the list price. They should know where the buyer is at financially. They should understand all the terms of the offer before coming to you and talking about it. They should have a contract ready to go in place, just in case a buyer on Saturday morning is desperate to sign. They should be ready to go. They also need to have a clear-cut understanding of a process to put in place should there be more than one party involved. You see, if there's more than one party involved, you as the seller should be able to get more money in your pocket, and that is hugely important. What you don't want to see in the negotiation process with your agent is the agent that comes to you that has little idea of where the buyer's limits are, has limited knowledge of what the terms of the offer are, or perhaps they just plain and simple are vague about it all. A good agent has a control and understanding of where things are at with the buyer in particular. Some important things to think about for a seller when you're negotiating. It's important to keep a clear head. I see many times where I guess emotion comes into it, and it's always better to act on fact, not emotion. If a buyer comes forward with what seems to be a low offer, just be careful with that and you know, talk about it and keep an open mind. I, as an agent, have seen many cases where the first offer, you know, can be really low, but then, you know, over time that same buyer comes up with something that even surprises me. So keep an open mind, and certainly don't feel really burnt by the process, because there is a process, and sometimes, you know, it's easy to get caught up in the love for your home rather than what you really want to do, and is move on from that home and to move on to the next thing, because that's really what's important. Another mistake that I see sellers make is early on in the piece, they get an offer and straight away they think, wow, we've listed it too cheap, oh my God, what are we going to do? Look, it's important for a seller to realise if a property is listed, presented and marketed for sale, and you've got an agent that's a king negotiator, well, it's likely that you're going to get early offers. And you need to look at that, and I've seen too many times where sellers, you know, early on in the piece they get this offer that seems to be too quick, and they've got some concerns there. Remember, you're here to sell your property so you can move on to the next thing. That's what's important. So, you've listed, you've presented, you've marketed, and you've got a king agent who has sold the property with your help. The paperwork is done, it's signed. The agent's dropped it off with the solicitors. At this point, some agents think they're off the hook. Yeehaw! The fact of the matter is, a good agent will not rest until that money's in your bank account and the whole sale is settled. Now, there's lots of things that go on at this stage. Most contracts these days have a building and pest clause where, you know, the buyer checks it out for different issues. These things might need to be mediated on between buyer, seller, and between the agents. The other thing is finance. Banks are not simple these days, and certainly some people have trouble getting things over the line. Even sellers these days sometimes have trouble with settlement dates and whatnot. So a good agent will always be there. What is important for you as a seller to keep in mind? Often the agent's left out of the loop in this process. A good agent will be contacting you and trying to find out what's going on, but let them know if something arises, because quite often they don't know what's going on. Sellers, solicitors and buyers solicitors will often take over the process, but it's important to keep that agent involved. And a good agent knows that they're here right to the gory death, and they're here to help you get that money in your bank account so you can move on to the next thing in your life, which is probably another property. If you're looking for more and you want a strategy session with someone on our team, please follow the steps in your emails, and we can certainly arrange that. Thanks for listening to the 4 steps to sold. List, present, market, and sell. Have yourselves a great day. Thanks for watching and listening.